The album, the recording wasn't scheduled like on the books, like it wasn't on the books, but we had already started writing, knowing that, in the coming months, we're going to section off some recording time. Pandemic kind of delayed things, but it delayed everything. And so we were kind of on track anyways. And so that's what happened. There was no grand plan. Really didn't want to do it myself, but JC kind of pushed us to do it. If I had my way, I would still be under the covers, just waiting this thing out. Because, the pandemic was like, you didn't know, or you still don't know in a way, when we can like tour regularly and do this regularly. And as a band, you don't know, because rock bands can only work around a lot of people. And so the pandemic really stems that. So not knowing when there was going to be a vaccine, people were saying 2 to 5 years. Well, that's not enough time for me to go. That's a long time for me to go without working. So I didn't know what to do. And when you're a band for 25 years, all your skills, all the skills I knew 25 years ago have either been lost, faded, obsolete, no more. And the only skills I have are very specific. That it won't get me another job. Like I can go up to an employer in a job interview and go, well, what are your skills? I go, well, if you give me 1,000 people, I can get everybody to sing the song that I wrote, the chorus that I wrote, back at me. That's my skill. So there's no, it's unemployable. So there's that sense too, We knew that usually when we finish an album, it's only a few months till it comes out, or only a few months till we really release the artwork and the songs and the whole thing starts moving. We know that. But with this one, when we finished the album, it was evident that there's no way we can have this out. We finished it in mid-October. There's no way we can have this out by January or February. So immediately wasn't shocked when everybody said it's the end of August it's coming out, which is that's almost a year from when we finished it. So, but it wasn't a shock given the circumstances. So that's how it was for, working like that. It's unprecedented. I was just shocked that we were in a studio with other people. I was just shocked that we did all the songs, we wrote them, and they all sounded great. Without even being in the same room together. We would send files back and forth, and then shocked that we were able to practice it in a room, but not even see each other because there was partitions. And then shocked that we were in a studio with 5 people when guidelines were saying 6 people, no more than 6 people. And we were doing a record in a studio. So all that stuff was surprising to me. So a delayed album release is the last thing that would have shocked me. Well, it went amazing. Yeah, well, we love the album. I love the album. I mean, very skeptical at first. Didn't want to be around anyone. So the only option was send files, but we'd never done that. We've always written in a room together. So this was very, I was very apprehensive, skeptical, but the first song we wrote, completed, was from an idea that I wrote in isolation. So we had started writing, but that wasn't one of the ideas I used. I used this idea that I came up with in isolation. I sent it to JC. JC expanded it, he arranged it. Then he put his bass on it. I put my guitar on it. I put vocals on it, but JC put just a metronome, like just a generic metronome for Rich to use as a grid, just so he can lay drums down. And when he sent us the drums on the Skeleton's raw song, the whole song just lit up. And that's when I realized, holy cow, we could do this. So that song was Blue Jean Denim Jumpsuit. That's the 6th song on the album. One of my favorites even to this day. After that, I realized, no, we could really do this. We've never done it before, but we can do this. And then we just did it. We took the whole summer to write. And when you have nothing planned, usually we have a tour looming, or there's a show like in a week, or we got to get practicing for this, or we got to do a photo shoot for that. When you have all that stuff hanging over you, when you don't have it hanging over you, oh, there's nothing to, you have endless time. I could spend a whole day on one verse of a song working on lyrics now, or spend a whole 2 days working out a guitar solo, when usually it would just be like, give me like an hour and a half. I'll have this done, guys. Now I could spend like the whole weekend working on it's just endless time. So even though the pandemic kept us from each other, kept us from practicing, kept us from rehearsing and bashing out the songs in front of each other, it gave us endless time to work on the album. It's a weird backhanded good thing that happened. So, that's why I think this album is as strong as it is, despite the, isolation from the pandemic. Song titles like I Want Out, Let's Rock Together, Raise Some Hell, Start the Show. These were album songs that were written in isolation as a reaction to the lockdown, a reaction to the pandemic, a reaction, not being able to play music live. So, and also last summer, there was all these protests, and right now in the world all over, there's such a overt racial divide and an overt political divide. There's so much divisiveness. So all that kind of found its way into the lyrics. However, I always keep it vague, so it doesn't alienate anyone, and it doesn't date the songs either. If I write about the pandemic and say, wear a mask, or, get your vaccine, like that's the title of the song, it's going to date it immediately, so you keep it vague and kind of hope that it maintains its timelessness. So that's why I do that. But definitely, I Want Out, the chorus was written while I was playing the chorus on my guitar, looking out the window in my bedroom. That's how it came up with the lyrics to that chorus of that song. Definite reaction to the pandemic. Usually I would say no. I always feel like, not because we have to push a record, but because it's the freshest ones. We live with these other songs all day, and then you give us 11 new songs to listen to that we played and we wrote. They're gonna be in heavy rotation for me. I'm gonna think it's awesome because we're releasing it. We wouldn't release anything we didn't think is awesome. But yes, this album has a special place, being that it's our 10th album on our 25th year, but written in isolation, despite a pandemic, following health guidelines. We still were able to come out and deliver an album we're very proud of. So yeah, this album has kind of an asterisk to its, I really do, not that I don't ever, but I really mean it, when I'm extra proud of this, I should say. Well, I mean, it's easier with three people. There's less cooks in the kitchen. You have, 5 to 7 people in a band, and everybody wants to be heard. Nothing gets solved and nothing gets done. Nothing gets accomplished. In 3 people, it's just like, do you agree with that guy? Yeah, done. It's a democracy. We are. So it's, the 2 of us like it. So, all right, well, then it's done. So it's really easy to get through things very fast in a 3-piece. In terms of instrumentation, it's also easy. It's the same instrumentation as like bands like Zeppelin and Sabbath, who have 4 members. I'm just doing, 2 things, so, but musically, when you hear it, it's the same. Yeah, yeah, long time ago, I would say year 3 of our band, there was a short window where we discussed bringing in a second guitar player who was, you know, my best friend in high school, and he could play like Page. And no, it didn't work out. So it's fine. Well, I will say this. The last song on the album, Start the Show, features Phil Campbell from Motorhead, and he plays the guitar solo on it. That was the only song that we went into the studio where we didn't have a solo prepared. This is the only one I didn't have one prepared. I eventually did and recorded it. But while we were in the studio, the album title was already figured out, Power Trio. And we were throwing around names for a possible guest to fill that guitar solo slot. And JC came up with Phil Campbell, and he said, well, why don't we get the guitar player from the greatest power trio in history, Phil Campbell from Motorhead. So that one, the discussion was closed after that. And luckily Phil said yes. So it was great to have him on.